Charagma, Nawathan Kal halalyam la Yahawah, bahasham Yahawashi, bahasham giving all praises to Yahawah, bahasham Yahawashi, bahasham. Double honor to the apostles and elders of great millstone that rule well and labor in the word and doctrine. Shalom, meaning peace. May that be unto the elect of the nation of Israel. So we're in this from prnewswire.com. This is RFID Charagmas, right? In humans, biohacking, quote unquote, or government surveillance tool. Okay, so this is from San Francisco Bay University Professor Ahmed Benafa. Says in the bulletin of the atomic scientists outlines the risks and benefits of implanted charagmas. Now, why is this relevant to us with a biblical worldview? Because we believe this to be the MOTB. Right, when you look that up, that's going to come up with a, I can't remember what you call it. I think it begins with an A. When each letter of the word has a word, okay? So you might call it, for example, in England, there's a football program, MOTD, right? That's match of the day, right? MOTB is mark of the animal, right? A synonym for animal that begins with B, right? You can read about this in Revelation, the 13th chapter, okay, which I'll read when we get into this article. So it says RoboCop, Star Wars, and Iron Man are all blockbuster examples of humans enhancing themselves through mechanical means. And really, what that is predictive programming. Right? There's a certain amount of people that are aware of these things to happen. Even your president at the moment says, you will rule on that. Mark my words. Right? You will rule on effectively the charagma being in place and millions of people using it, paraphrasing. Right, so this is Psalm 64, starting at verse 1. Hear my voice, O Most High, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Now we can read in Nehemiah, the 5th chapter, that these other nations are our enemy. Psalm 83 talks about how the enemies of the Lord have made a tumult. And when you see who the enemies of the Lord are, it lists a couple nations. Right? Not just an odd individual here and there, but the nations themselves. Now, these nations have come against the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American peoples, aided directly or indirectly in our genocide, which means to kill the genes. Speaking of the genos, or the genos, when you go into 1 Peter, it talks about a holy generation, a royal priesthood. That's talking about a certain people. When you go into generation, a chosen generation, that word is genos, so a chosen race. So this scripture is about a certain lineage of people, contrary to popular belief. And it was prophesied that the chief adversary, okay, the Edomites, would come against the Israelites and have them in slavery and affliction, all right, ending and culminating in the end of his system by means of the Charagma, right, what we're reading an article on, that he being Babylon the Great, the chief rulership seat, would cause all small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive that in their right hand or in their forehead. And it don't matter, you can't say, I took it in my left hand. Because in Revelation 14 and 9, it talks about if you took it in your head or your hand. You can take it in your foot. See if that works out for you. Okay? So now, Psalm 64, verse 2, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. So you best believe that there are secret councils, right? People gathering together, breathing together, which would be the etymological root of conspiracy. Con meaning with. In Spanish, you say with my friends. Con mis amigos, or con mi amigos, right? With. And then spire, like spirit. So you get the term spirit. Or you respire, you get the spirit again. You perspire, you spire forward. Okay? Verse 3, who wet their tongues like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even better words. And there'll be a lot of words, using this charagma. There'll be a lot of persuasion, right? Caucasian persuasion. For example, you've got something called Neuralink, and it seems that can fix people with serious long-term conditions. So when we say and bring out the scriptures of what this actually is, we will get condemned because it's as if we're trying to stop the progress. When really the only way it's progressing is to an absolute dire state, dire straits even. Right, verse 4, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect, suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. Okay. So there will be them campaigns, right, which is an advertising campaign. A lot of these articles are advertising campaigns. They'll tell you, well, this could be very negative here. But on the other hand, if you do think about it, so they're trying to give you, it's a selling point. If you ever looked at marketing, advertising, a certain technique is, so what are the weak points of our product? You go into it, well, I think a lot of people are opposed to this, are opposed to having this in them. So why don't we lead? We'll lead the sales pitch by saying this may be a concern, right? So you identify the problem and you say, well, this is how we remedy it. So they'll either give the benefits that outweigh it or the function of the product to where that isn't even an issue anymore, right? How we'd been sold it was completely wrong, and we're misinformed. So it's to persuade and it's to inform, a lot of these articles. I'm not saying this one, we'll get into it, but a lot of these articles, they'll position it's a non-bias or even it's a negative, but they always tell you, well, it's inevitable or something, they're planting them seeds. They like Robocop, Star Wars, Iron Man, they were planting seeds of human biohacking, pushing out the bounds, especially Iron Man. Right. It says humans enhancing themselves through Robocop, Star Wars, Iron Man, all blockbuster examples of humans enhancing themselves through mechanical means. In reality, the application of the same principles is happening now through RFID, radio frequency identification charagmas in humans. These charagmas are incredibly small, about the size of a grain of rice, and can store information such as medical records, which file save that, bookmark that in your head, or access to buildings and devices. Now you had the Pentagon, right, bring out a charagma, a sensor, that could allegedly sense any symptoms of the great pestilence that we had recently. All right, and that was great craft. Everyone was up in arms about that. Everyone was concerned about that. Everyone was not wanting to go and see their elderly family members in case they passed it on. So if you come up with a solution, again, going back to the marketing, advertising idea, you come up with a solution for a great problem. Oh, wait, if I take this charagma here, I'll find out within minutes if I have anything. So I can go and see my grandma. I can go and do this. I can go and do that. And giving them people that they're giving them freedom on lease. From the leash. You also had the vaccine, right? Or the cow. When you look at what is vacca, 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 the etymology of that. Okay, and they said that they can keep the records. Imagine, you don't have to carry around your wallet. You can have your credit card, your keys, your medical information all on one. You could never lose it. Yeah, until man get mad and chop your hand off. Start trying to pay for shit. Holding your dismembered hand. Like you see in films, when it gets into them dire situations and Book of Eli, then I Am Legend sort of situations, be ye as pilgrims upon the earth, or ye will be as pilgrims upon the earth, paraphrasing. These are the times coming upon the earth, so these outlandish, crimes such as man chopping off a hand because it's got one of these in, seems ridiculous. It seems like it never happened, but when someone's not eaten they get very desperate. Okay. Says Professor Ahmed Banafa, an engineering professor at San Francisco Bay University, recently wrote a paper on the topic in the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. So you're seeing you've got university professors, how you say, publishing, publishing certain papers on this topic, right? Which shows you it's picking up great traction. Whether that was of his own volition, whether he was told, right, I need you to write a paper on this, is irrelevant. The Lord is making chess moves. The fact is that it happened. And they're gonna push, not necessarily him, but everyone. The general consensus is going to be swayed, or is going to be intended to be swayed, to the point that it's a great thing. So everyone needs to look at these negatives and realize that the benefits actually outweigh the risks. For example, if you've ever seen, let's say it like this: you have a car, right? How many people die in car crashes? All right, but you still get in the car, so that's a selling point. There was one movie, I can't remember what it was, but where basically they were trying to sell cigarettes. And they were saying, well, it kills you anyway, but a car kills you. So there's different ways, and these people have been researching and really getting deeply into, what makes humans tick, what makes people buy stuff. So they're using all of these creative skills, for a wicked purpose, man. These are crafty people, wiser than Daniel, as it's written. Okay, so let's read what is said. Professor Banafa states, at first glance, such consumer technology looks like a harmless whim, or the next logical step among those who favor piercings, or the supposed ultimate inconvenience. All right, and again, they'll push that. It's the next logical step, and it's convenient. These are two great selling points of the MOTB. Okay, and I don't mean great as in I think they're great, but they are large, they're on a big scale, and a lot of people will be deceived by it. Right? If it would be possible, they should deceive the very elect. It says, but in certain ID charagmas in humans would also seem to bear the seeds of a particularly intrusive form of surveillance at a time when authorities in some part of the world have been forcibly collecting DNA and other biological data, including blood samples, fingerprints, voice recordings, iris scans, and other unique identifiers from all their citizens. Right, so even in that being stated, is it not a logical progression from a perspective of a government to have absolutely every person track and trace? Okay, every person, their bank of financial outgoings and incomings on record, no under the table, no cash shit. Right, so every single thing. Right, if this guy, man, he always gets Doritos every single fucking day. And you can begin to manipulate people's vices more as well. These are the plans that the elite have. Right? It says, Professor Banafa teaches not only the technical side of human enhancements, but also discusses the ethics and ultimately the why with his students. Okay? Now, I assume they're humans. But why? What benefit is this? It's to push the agenda of the Lord ultimately. Right? It's the Lord's agenda on the right hand. But the Lord set up, them the wicked as his sword to play their part on the earth. Right? It says it's important to understand all of the implications of Charagma implants, their humanity-changing benefits, and the potentially disastrous consequences. So again, it's an article written to persuade, so they have to take your perspective. Say that they're on 100% is amazing. They need to at least get to 50% to try to draw you closer to the 100%. Right? Even like Apostle Paul said, he became all things to all men. So there's a certain way you try to persuade people. Being crafty, I caught you with guile. As Apostle Paul also said. So they do that on the left-hand side. They're not using guile to try and win your soul. Right? using God to make you try and lose it. They try to take your crown. Okay, so we'll get this few couple verses, not too many, but a couple. So Revelation 13 and 16 and 17. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a charagma in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. All right, so that's what it is. That's what it is. Revelation 2 and 10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. And shout is an absolute certain, right? It's of certainty. Not it might. Some of you might suffer, right? You shall suffer. Verse 10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. And these are red letters. That is Yahawashi HaMashiach, which is the true name for who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. These are the words of Yahawashi. Okay? These will come to pass. So we need to be getting in the right frame of mind. And all you groups that say it's, the MOTB is sleeping with other nations, women, is an embargo, although I think that's been dropped. All your other groups need to come to your senses, man. The Charagma, some will say, oh, it's not being in ISUPK. That's ridiculous, man. So what the whole earth is going to make sure they don't mind if you're an Israelite. They don't mind if you keep the Sabbath. And these are the same people. Let's remember what happened in the time of Maccabees, what happened in the time of surrounding 70 AD, the persecution upon the Israelites. You can be an Israelite, but just don't be an ISUPK. You really think that's going to be said? Even on the smallest scale, you see what the rulers of this world don't like this truth, right? And they're going to have a deeper agenda than persuading you not to join a singular camp, right? They're going to come against all Israel, and specifically, they're going to come against them that are warning them of the earth, seeking the elect to warn them about this, for example, the severely damaging and despicable agendas of them that rule the world. All right, so I'll close out here. Revelation 3, verses 10 and 11. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth. Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Okay, on to the next video, Lord willing. I pray that was edifying. All praises to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham, Racha Kodash. Shalom.